Here we go from the Post-Millennial revealed. Biden's FBI authorized use of deadly force when necessary during a Mar-A-Lago raid. Law enforcement officers of the Department of Justice may use deadly force when necessary. It's a direct quote from the documents. I'll back it up. We got Newsweek. FBI was prepared to use deadly force at Mar-A-Lago raid. The reason why these two headlines are important, and they are different, is that not only did they authorize the FBI to use lethal force, but they showed up with the weapons ready and capable to do so. And now we'll add one more on top. In this filing, this document released by Julie Kelly, we can see in the document it says, law enforcement officers of the Department of Justice may use deadly force when necessary. The agents planned to bring standard issue weapons, ammo, handcuffs, and medium and large size bolt cutters, but they were instructed to wear unmarked polo or collared shirts and to keep law enforcement concealed. I'm going to tell you my opinions right away. There is no competent human who does this without the expectation this could lead to death, to an active shootout between the Secret Service and unmarked law enforcement agents. We all remember the story of what was that woman's name? We all remember the story. I can't remember her name. They claimed that she was sleeping in her bed and she was shot by the cops.
Breonna Taylor.
Taylor, there you go. I knew it was Breonna, but I'm like, which Breonna was it? And now they say that the police, didn't announce themselves or whatever. They say they did, regardless of the fact of that case. I believe, we've actually interviewed one of the cops involved, and they did announce themselves. They knocked, and then, the guy shot at them. I'm only bringing the story up because the left's perspective on it was that she was sleeping in her bed, and these cops didn't announce themselves and opened fire on her. That means it is well established in the psyche of your liberals, of your Democrats, that police officers who show up to enforce the law but are not wearing identifiable outfits create the perception of a burglary or a robbery or an assault attack. This had the potential, the high potential, in my opinion, to result in Trump's security guards. I was just at Mar-A-Lago, I'll tell you, and Secret Service.
Yeah.
Not being aware of what was going on and seeing a dude in plain clothes with a gun rushing onto the property. You might be thinking like, hey, who's this guy? And the guy, we're lucky it did not escalate to this.
Yeah.
Many people on social media are already saying this was an assassination attempt. Could you imagine if what could have happened if this went the way of one of these stories we hear in the press where, cops who don't identify themselves end up getting into shootouts? I almost think that either these people are as stupid can be, or they were crossing their fingers that they would get a news report of Trump security opens fire on FBI.
Do they think that Donald Trump is like Scarface? Because that the only people that are going to be actually engaging with them, if there were to be a gunfight, it would be Secret Service. It would be FBI versus Secret. Because Donald Trump ain't going to be there with a machine gun, come and get me, So the idea that it was I don't understand why the Department of Justice would say we're allowing you to get into a gunfight. We're saying it's acceptable for you to get into a gunfight with the Secret Service because, again, it's not Donald Trump.
They could just call the Secret Service and say, we're going to have some two FBI agents going to come down and we're going to do a sweep. And they would have been like, you got it.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
And one other thing, shout out Julie Kelly.
Oh, absolutely.
Amazing work by her. Her work has been invaluable on everything, whether it was 2020 election related or it was, the Trump trials related. I mean, she's been on fire with this stuff. And we were talking a little bit about it before the show. Who do you think is there? Oh, it's the Secret Service, right? We had heard reports in the past that Secret Service had coordinated with Trump and with the DOJ and with the archives about this documents problem. Now we need to know exactly what the Secret Service knew, because if the Secret Service didn't know anything,
I think these documents prove they didn't, because there's a line in one of them, if I'm remembering correctly, where it says, if the U.S. Secret Service resists, here's how to proceed. They talk about the possibility that the Secret Service are not working with them. Now, maybe that's to account for a potential agent who's like, hey, I don't believe in this. But really, it seems like they were operating completely independently than this other government agency. And the only reason they would do that is to have the element of surprise. Now, again, what are we expecting? Donald Trump to be there, armed and dangerous, ready to defend his territory. That doesn't seem like it, however cool that visual might be to some people. The reality is they treated him like a hostile mob member because that's how they perceive him.
Yeah.
They believe that he is incredibly dangerous and that he is, capable of harming people in a crazy way, when in fact they are setting up a situation that could become incredibly dangerous quickly. And like Tim is saying, this is a narrative that everyone on the left repeats all the time. If you have a plainclothes officer who doesn't identify themselves, they actually, theoretically, in the minds of the left, create the dangerous situation. Now, why would you send all of these people in unmarked polos? What are we trying to accomplish here? I think the defense will be from the other side of the aisle, from the Biden administration. Oh, well, he's a former president, so we didn't want it to seem like we were just swarming Mar-a-Lago. Except we all know, we all saw the videos. This is exactly what they wanted it to seem like, because again, to them, Trump is a corrupt mob boss who they have the right to stand up against. They're not based in reality. They're based in their own delusion.
Any sane operation against a former president, like they go to Joe Biden's house, they find documents. Honest question: are they going to have in those warrants for the searching of Joe Biden's properties use of lethal force? I really doubt it. I doubt it. And if they do, wow, then we need to then all the criticisms of the FBI are warranted. The idea that they have to worry about a former president who's under Secret Service, they can't go to the Secret Service and say, okay, hey guys, we're going to be. I'm assuming they even inform the Secret Service, right? There's no justification for the bringing of weapons and the use of deadly force in this capacity. None whatsoever. It could have only have resulted in something devastating to this country. If they opened the door to unmarked law enforcement showing up. Let's say Trump's security at Mar-a-Lago had no idea, and that with lack of communication, a fight breaks out. Somebody gets shot, a shootout ensues. What do you think would happen to this country if the news reports came out saying FBI and Trump security are in an active gunfight? This would I don't know. What were they hoping for? Like to escalate some kind of January 6th type scenario?
I don't know. I assume that maybe like you were saying, Hannah Claire, maybe it's that they were expecting or anticipating the possibility of Secret Service being loyal to Trump. But even still, it just seems so ridiculous.
And they could have told them then, right? If they thought he was loyal to Trump, they should have informed them ahead of time to, again, prevent any kind of violence.
Yeah, I feel like this all would have been just simply an interagency phone call.
Yeah.
Hey, these things are, we're going to come to get these things because blah, blah, blah.
Maybe. I don't know.
How much did the president know? You have two portions of the executive branch potentially getting to a shootout with one another in this situation. Like, Merrick Garland has to contact the big guy, right? Presumably. So what does the president know about this situation? Sounds like Republicans in Congress might have some interest in subpoenaing some people.
Republicans in Congress are stupid and terrible. They
exactly.
They
should ask for answers for sure. Yeah. But the other part of this is that we know that the Biden administration is somewhat dysfunctional. I mean, how could the defense secretary go missing for like a week and not tell anyone unless it's normal for people to go offline and not tell Biden what's going on? Either way, this doesn't paint a good picture for the Biden administration. And there are parts of it where I want to say, like I saw some reports, pointing out that there was a medic on scene, that part of the filing points out, like, if anything happens, you'll go to this hospital. And if we're giving them benefit of the doubt, let's say that's just standard protocol. If you're going to authorize this type of force, then you have to have a plan for this kind of thing. But the fact that this was just a conversation, everybody was like, well, obviously there's a chance that this kind of force could be necessary, is bizarre to me. And again, I can't help but stress, I think this shows how deranged people are when it comes to Donald Trump. And that puts a lot of people in danger. It puts anyone who supports him into a level, it makes them vulnerable to a level of scrutiny that nobody else is. That's beyond rationality.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's a worrying headline, and part of me is like, I know a lot of people are constantly concerned about what's going to happen this November. And there's a lot of people who live, it's really fascinating. If you report on a story like this and just show the document where they were showing up with standard issue weapons, ammo, and the preparation and authorization to use deadly force, there people are going to get mad. They're going to be like, this is crazy. You shouldn't talk about this. You're fanning the flames. You're encouraging civil war. If you don't talk about it, then you get people who are being like, why aren't you talking about the important issues? It's just, people are going to get mad no matter what. And the challenge, I suppose, is knowing when these stories are when it's a flash in the pan, or are we really inching towards some kind of actual catastrophe? I feel like, in the winter, things get slow. Things in the winter get abstract. You hear a lot of words from politicians, and there's a lot of news related to the social goings-on. And then in the summer, things get physical, and you hear more news related to physical actions, riots, protests, etc. But it does seem like a lot of people seem to forget over the winter months. It's like in the summer, it's like, this is crazy. How can this country withstand this? Oh man, 2024 is going to get nuts. The news is going to be crazy. Then winter comes and everyone's like, things are kind of all right. Springtime comes. Everybody's going out and it's like Friday night. We're going to go to the bar and we're going to chill. And the news gets a little dry. And then everyone's like, why did anyone think things were bad in this country? And then they're like, oh, here's a release of documents showing that they had authorized deadly force against the former president. And you're like, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
You mentioned November. I mean, this does seem like a gut check to the normies, especially the normies who hold out on Trump because they are afraid that the 45th president is constantly, always, and everywhere breaking every constitutional norm possible. And then they make some argument about our democracy. These documents prove that the Biden administration, the so-called adults that were supposed to be in the room, right, the so-called return to normal, basically means effectively that the Constitution is a dead letter, right? Because either the executive of this country has been vested with the executive power and powers and duties that correspond with it, or not. And very clearly, the government is operating off of the assumption that the president has no authority whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, if you actually do want to reinstall a semblance of constitutional order, maybe, just maybe, you give another guy a chance. And we saw that in the last 6 months of the Trump administration where they tried to throw it out against him. Remember when Mark Milley contacted his Chinese counterpart and said, I'd give you a heads up if we're going to attack. At least Trump fought tooth and nail. He wasn't always successful. He didn't always have the personnel to best help him do it. But at least he has a gut instinct for, I am the president of the United States and therefore preside over the executive branch. And that actually is, regardless of any law degree that Biden may or may not have gotten, that seems more constitutional than any sort of constitutionalism that Biden and his administration is putting forward at the moment.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.